All right, Matty, we are back with the Ask Matty show. We have a lot of great topics today. We did not have an after hour show this Monday, but we will be back next week because we have a lot to talk about. And unfortunately, we will not be talking about Casper today. If you guys were on Twitter, we put up a clip of Matty absolutely going ham on Crypto Mason, and it garnered a lot of attention. And, he obviously had nothing good to say back and is not really aware of our stances on crypto in general. So he just gets offended. Like, he calls us a little girl because we're passionate about crypto. But it's like, we're just passionate about not spreading misinformation, right, Matt?
Right. That's all it comes down to. You just got to keep it 10 toes. There's nothing wrong with having healthy debates, but let's make sure we're not spreading misinformation. And if we do see that, we have a responsibility to call it out.
But why is it important for us to call it out, Matt? Because it seems like with someone saying something as little as, oh, I heard from someone that the Casper network is struggling, or, the Casper team is dumping Casper token, and this spiral effect happens. How dangerous is that?
It's incredibly dangerous. And like we've talked about many times, like misinformation always spreads at an exponentially higher rate than, just true, solid information. Most people, when they hear something or they read something, they don't just go Google it and just check 2 or 3 news sources to make sure they're all saying the same thing. They're willing to just take the first headline they see on Instagram and run forward. Like, great example in pop culture recently is that Hawk Tuah girl, Haley, whatever her name is, she comes out, and she's getting really famous over the next couple of weeks. And for like almost 3 weeks, everyone's like, she was a Catholic school pre-teacher or preschool teacher, and she got fired because of this. And that was not true at all. She worked in a spring factory and she didn't get fired at all. People are more than willing to start up all kinds of crazy conversations just to feel like they're a part of something bigger without double checking the information. So again, guys, just be careful out there. It's so easy to get sucked into these rabbit holes of nonsense and misinformation.
Hawk Tuah mentioned on the show today. Hilarious. I feel like we might be behind the 8 ball here, Matty. I feel like we should have talked about Hawk Tuah months ago.
Yeah, a little too late on that one. Sorry, guys. Go ahead and give me an L in the chat on that one.
Matty, we have a lot of great stuff to talk about today, but before we get into the topics, become a Crypto Charged member team. Click the pin link in the comment section down below. It will take you directly to our website. Crypto education is our purpose, and we want to help you guys, so join us over there. Use code YouTube, and you can hop in and look at our daily shows, use the tools on the website, and get access to our Discord. And I saw, just, circling back to the whole Crypto Mason thing, I saw a lot of you guys under, replying to him under his tweets, going at him. And I like that. We're getting the army together, getting the Casper army together. And it doesn't even really have to be the Casper army. We got to be like the Truth Sayer army. Right. It's like, hey, bro, you're not telling the truth. You're making stuff up. I was telling Matty before the show, it's like, I feel like he has a dream and wakes up and feels obligated to tweet about the XRP dream he had last night. And it's just like, that's not helpful at all. And if you guys, want to be a part of that, that's fine. That's more entertainment than it is education. But we try to, strike a good balance here with entertainment and education. I think that's the whole purpose of the show, Matt, is to bring that entertainment factor with the education here. And I think, you always give the spicy, good answers. And sometimes you go off on rants. And we like that. And we like that here. That's the entertainment factor. Matty, let's get into the topics we have for today. Again, all right, all the Casper stuff we talked about already. Let's get into some new stuff. Are you ready, Matt?
Let's get after it.
Exterior Man 8 says, if Sushi keeps setting new lows, doesn't that change the targets?
So this is a good question. A lot of people are familiar. Some people are not familiar with the way that we come up with targets, or even just look at this tool in conjunction with other basic fundamentals like support and resistance. And that's going to be our Fibonacci retracement tool. It's a super simple tool to use. We have an abundance of tutorials on the website showing you guys how to set it up the way we have to set it up, how to be effective with it, how to utilize them for both entries as well as exits. But that's a good question, right? So if we have a new low, the range is violated, meaning we've poked a new low. Does that change the targets? Yes, but also no. When you look at the range, that, for example, let's say you go from a swing high at whatever, $10 to a swing low at 20 cents, right? That's a pretty big range you're going to select. So all the numbers that are generated in between there are going to be the retracement level. So from top of range to bottom of range, 0.5 is going to be 50% of that range. So it's going to be exactly 50% of the way between the low of the range and the high of the range that you selected. The extensions on the other side are basically multiplication problems. So instead of it being 61.8% of the range you selected, which would fall right exactly 61.8% between the top of range, bottom of the range, it's going to be the total range multiplied. So you're going to be adding the 618 on top of your range there. So when you have tiny little deviations out of big ranges, let's say if price moves down like another, let's say 5 or 10%, It's maybe going to change the targets a little bit, but it's not going to change them super dramatically. Now, if you have a much tighter range that you're using and then you adjust it by 5 or 10%, you are going to see a pretty dramatic difference in the overall targets that you see when it comes to those Fibonacci's that are produced there. But a lot of our plays are very long-term plays. Our swing trades that we have on Sushi right now is based off of a very big range. We are hunting down a 236 or 382 Fibonacci clearout zone there. And I personally will be dumping my position into that and rotating to some other stuff. So it could possibly change a little bit, but I don't think that it's going to change on a grand scale to where I'd even have to change the targets that we have in our Discord for that particular swing trade.
Marcus Math 33 says, what are the best older coins I can buy? I don't have many old coins in my portfolio.
Good question. And I think that it's always going to come down to like what's old to you. Are we going to talk about the Dino coins that I was playing on a couple years ago, and I decided to kind of roll that into one Dino coin play, that being like the Bitcoin Cashes and the Litecoins and the EOSs and maybe the IOTAs and maybe Dash, right? Those are some of the things I think when people think about some like legacy coins or Dino coins. I'm not really putting my attention there. Like I said, I still try to have like a blend of like fundamental and technical approach. If we're talking about some maybe multi-cycle coins here, I think some of the coins that have fallen from grace in relations to popularity would be maybe like your Zcashes, maybe your HBARs, maybe your XRPs. Now, of course, the communities are still out there. If you guys dig hard enough, you're going to find people who are educated and pay attention to the updates and they know what they're doing. But I think those are probably 3 examples that I would give that are in my portfolio now that maybe you'd want to consider adding to your portfolio as like older coins that have an established team, have some proven track record when it comes to on-chain data, and also good technical upside. So again, some of these are going to be larger caps than others, so some of the risk to reward is going to be different on those. So of course, make sure you do your own research there. But those are 3 that I'd maybe consider to at least do some research into initially.
Matty, what old coins are in your portfolio?
I would say out of those, my biggest position out of some of those other altcoins other than XRP is probably going to be Zcash. You guys have heard me talk extensively about Zcash. I've done a lot of work to build that bag here at the lows. We're actually getting a great opportunity right now in the pullback. I had a lot of my team, we got a huge breakout on Zcash. We were up there, just over $40, and everyone's like, man, I wish I had bought a little bit more. I got to get in now. And I was like, guys, wait, please, just wait for the pullback. I promise you it's coming. Now we're down here in the 30s again. We've done a really nice size pullback. Zcash is a really great opportunity to consider getting into, or maybe starting to DCA with right now. Now we've had a reasonable size pullback. We've had a lot of bleeding in the altcoin market. I think that we should definitely be capitalizing on these opportunities, not when we're seeing those impulses jump back up, guys, right? Like capitalize now.
Benny the Jet 88 says, if you were subjected to buy the S&P 500 or Bitcoin for the next 3 years, which one would you choose?
Jeez. This one's a really easy answer, guys. That would be Bitcoin, any day of the week. Now, if I had to put the S&P up against the other indices I could choose from, being the NASDAQ or the Dow Jones, I would absolutely invest in the S&P 500 out of those indices. 1, because of my age and my risk appetite, and B, because I'm just okay with volatility. So I would definitely rather be in something like the S&P 500, more heavily oriented as somebody who's about 30 years old, compared to the other indices. However, Bitcoin has and will continue to outperform the S&P. Now, as market capitalization increases and maybe Bitcoin's trading at egregious amounts of money in the future, that risk reward is probably going to go down. However, I do think that crypto is going to remain to be one of the more volatile sectors out there and will, over long periods of time, continue to provide the better long-term reward. Now, for some people, you're in your 70s or 80s, jumping out of something that's a little bit less volatile like the S&P or the Dow Jones or the NASDAQ is not going to be the best situation for you, because you have, a shorter timeline in which you want to retire, you want to have access to that liquidity. You don't have the stomach and the appetite for that volatility. But you're in your 30s, maybe you're in your 40s. This is still a good time to consider that more volatile exposure, because you have more time to wait out the market before you're actually ready to retire and extract some of that liquidity from your portfolio.
Save says, which coins do you guys predict will get wiped out when regulation comes into play?
I pray. I'm not a religious man anymore, but I pray that meme coins get wiped out. And it's not because I think that people shouldn't be able to have fun or create community coins, right? Like, I think that that's really where the NFT marketplace has the ability to shine, is offering some sort of like, hey, you buy these NFTs, they are unique, they're a part of the game, they go up or down in value. People should still be able to speculate on those things. But when all the coins are the same identical thing, right? They're not, there's nothing that differentiates one Dogecoin from another Dogecoin, right? There's not this different at all. Whereas like an NFT can differ drastically, right? Like even just one element of the NFT being different could potentially give it a different value based on what people's perceived, value of that hat is, or that outfit, or that coloring, right? Like just like in the fine art world, there's like a variety of perception of what it's actually worth. So I do hope that meme coins do get wiped out with this. And it's not because I don't like people making money off dumb shit, right? Like if you guys make a lot of money off a meme coin, I'm happy for you. My goal is for you guys to extract as much money from these market makers as possible. But the reality is more people are getting hurt with meme coins than people are doing well and actually making money with meme coins. More people do get hurt in the long run. All right. And again, if you care about DLT, you care about crypto, you care about this space, you should share that sentiment a little bit, because it cheapens the space. It takes away from the validity of this space. And if you want all these, older individuals and institutions to jump into the market and provide real liquidity, I mean, we really haven't had like the kind of liquidity we're going to see in the future. We're talking about a 10 or 15 or $20 trillion market cap. That is real liquidity. We don't want that going to meme coins. We want that going into high utility projects. So that's my dream. I think there's also going to be some other projects like we see maybe like with Hex start to get wiped out, where there's really this overt marketing, basically creating investment contracts but pretending they're not investment contracts. Some projects like that are probably going to move to the wayside, but I really do hope that memes make their way out, and we take that same sentiment and we're able to put that maybe on the NFT marketplace mixed with some crypto gaming and whatnot, and still let people speculate on that stuff.
I just want to yap about something really quick. It's probably too early for me to yap about this, but we need, Matty, we need big institutions to step in and buy these assets, right? And we need really that, let me see the word I want to use here. We need people to understand the value of crypto, want to use crypto, because that is where we're going to see the most amount of money flood in, right? And so I was reading something, it was like Michael Saylor's foreword at the beginning of the Bitcoin Standard, and he was just talking about once he read the Bitcoin Standard in March of 2022, just a couple months later, he convinced the board of MicroStrategy to start buying Bitcoin, right? And from August 2022 over the next 6 months, they spent about like $2.2 billion on Bitcoin purchases. But the purpose of that is because they were looking at inflation, and they were looking at their treasuries and how much money they were losing year over year due to inflation. And he said about 15%. I think if you look at like 2021 to 2022, it was like 7.4%. So it's still, you're on that inflation, your money's not working hard enough for you, all right? And so that was why they now are like 99% of their treasuries in Bitcoin and 1% is in cash and cash equivalents, right, Matt? So it's like, right, that is like a purpose of crypto. That is a reason people are going to want to step away from their traditional, what they've been doing over the last 100 years, and step into something new, like a new asset class that's really going to save them, okay? And Matty, I don't know about you, but I don't see these meme coins, maybe I shouldn't say save, but in Michael Saylor's case, he looks at Bitcoin as a savior, right? So let's just run with his, theology there. If crypto is that savior, could you ever see meme coins being that savior for us? What is meme coins going to save us from?
Nothing at all. I think that a lot of it has to do with like herd mentality. A lot of it comes down to like, if we get the community hyped enough, everyone's going to win, everyone's going to eat. But like I said, that's not the reality of the matter. Like we all like to get around and chant about, eat the rich, and it's all about these 1%. But like, even within these little meme coin projects, you have the 1%ers that are really actually extracting most of the profits. Most of them have insider trading information. A lot of them are in on the rug pulls. Your favorite influencers a lot of time are in on the rug pulls, which hurts me to see people give people their trust, give people their time, maybe even give them their money through subscriptions or newsletters or whatever they put out, and then turn their back on them by basically participating in insider trading and filling their own pockets, and hopefully again over time that we get some of these bad actors flushed out of the space, instead of wasting SEC resources on legitimate companies like Ripple. But it does cheapen the space exponentially, and I do hope that changes sometime here in the near future, because if we want to see, like I said, a 15 to 20 trillion dollar market cap, and you want to see that sustained over time and continue to grow over the next couple decades, you can't have stuff like this in the space. You can't have this overt fraud. When you have fraud in the security space, it immediately gets stomped out, because there's a lot of regulations that keep people from doing these kinds of things. And if they do get caught, there's jail time involved. There's a lot of penalties to pay, right? There's actual consequences to this versus these, kids in their mom's basement spinning up a DAO and then, minting these meme coins and then having next to no consequences because there isn't the resources to go hunt these kids down. So just food for thought, guys. Again, it all comes down to wanting to see a more mature space, seeing less people get hurt and more people make money on legit assets. There's still incredible rewards out there with legitimate assets. We don't have to chase every meme coin. So I know some of you guys still want to have a little bit of exposure. It's your money, it's your portfolio. I know that the average American spends almost $300 a year on the lottery, even though you have a better chance of getting struck on the way by lightning to go buy your ticket as well on the way back, right? Like you have a high probability of that occurring than winning the lottery, but people still like to gamble a little bit. So if you're truly treating it as, hey, it's a little bit of gamble, whatever, I don't really care. But when you guys are starting to look at 20, 40, 50% of your portfolio being meme coins, we're not really even gambling anymore, right? Like we're just being complete degenerates, being irresponsible with the dollars that I would hope that most of you guys work hard for when it comes to your fiat jobs.
Bron76 says, is Bitcoin the most likely to offer guarantee gains this bull run?
I feel like my head's about to spin around like The Exorcist. I really just can't stand the idea of guaranteed gains. You want to talk about guaranteed gains? Go buy a treasury bond, right? That's a guaranteed gain because that's backed by the U.S. government. It's a fixed rate, and you know what you're going to get when you do sell that position, right? Like that's a guaranteed gain. When we talk about volatility in the space and any sort of risk-on asset, that's going to be stocks, that's going to be cryptocurrencies. That's going to be anything that you know is going to be affected if there's an announcement of war, right? Like that's the best way to think about it. Does this asset go down if Israel launches missiles? If the answer is yes, it's a risk-on asset, okay? So anything that's risk-on is going to most likely work together, right? So if you have an environment in which the Federal Reserve is allowing for the loosening of credit, so it's cheaper to borrow money, we're maybe buying more mortgage-backed securities, so adding that back to their balance sheet, you're kind of putting more money into the economy. Risk-on assets like stocks and crypto, including Bitcoin, are going to generally do well over long periods of time as long as that policy is in effect. Now, one of the things we look at when we talk about the returns within the crypto space, a lot of it has to do with market cap. How much money has to pour into this asset for X asset to be worth this much money, right? And then in turn, how much does the total crypto market have to be worth and for it to also be sustainable? And of course, we can always speculate on rotations, and it doesn't all have to be that exact amount of money to pour all the way through. We can see plenty of rotations. But I think that if you're looking at, hey, I need some blue chip exposure long term, there's nothing wrong with having Bitcoin and ETH long term exposure in your portfolio. But if you're like me, someone who has a bigger risk appetite, you're not in your 70s or 80s, and you're looking to access that liquidity sometime soon, I think having the majority of your position in Bitcoin or ETH or any of these larger caps is kind of shooting yourself in the foot. You're not giving yourself that same opportunity to maybe have some more volatility and a little bit more risk for a much greater reward. So does Bitcoin going to offer the guaranteed gain? No, of course not. We could have World War III start tomorrow, and the entire crypto market, including risk-on assets like the stock market, collapse back down into the bear market levels. Can't predict that. I'm not going to bet on that. But there's no such thing as a guaranteed gain. If risk-on is doing well, Bitcoin's going to do well, and altcoins are also going to do well. So if you want to have exposure to Bitcoin, have exposure, but not because it's the guaranteed exposure.
Team, that's all the questions we have for today. A couple updates here. Matty, are you doing the show today?
No, that's going to be on Wednesday.
Okay, I was just asking. I didn't know if Dan was going to make it today, but we do have, so I did want to lead with this because you were talking about some macro factors here. We do have September 6th coming up. We do have September 18th coming up. Those are big days, jobs report, and then, the Fed meeting. So these are going to be big days. Expecting a string of rate cuts. So team, you do want to be tapped in with things that are going on in the macroeconomic environment, and those things are going to be covered on the Crypto Charge live show. All right, we don't cover that here. I wouldn't even try to cover. I talk to Dan endlessly about all this stuff, and I talk about it with my friends and family, whatever, and they're like, oh, Gavin, how are you so smart? It's like, well, I talked to Dan Habib, so he knows how to answer all my questions when it relates to that. And so, team, if you want to be in the know about what's going on, get a broader view, because I don't think people look broad enough, and we get questions like, why is Casper down today? Or why is Bitcoin down today? And it's like, well, especially when we're going, with Japan a couple weeks ago, and their currency, their yen, and it was just like, oh, what's going on, the carryover trade? And everyone's like, what's going on? Why is Bitcoin going down? And it's like, okay, you're not watching the Crypto Charge live show, that's for sure. So team, tap in with that. Click the pin link down below. Matty, we have like a minute left. Anything to leave the team with here? Anything valuable?
I think I look at the market right now, and it's really been an ugly past couple weeks. Like we had a little nice resurgence, over that, yen capitulation, but then we also had kind of that V-shaped recovery. But now we've kind of had a little bit of like this spilling, and specifically in the altcoin market, we've seen that bigger spill occur here. So I would really, really urge you guys to pick 2 or 3, and I mean that, just 2 or 3 assets that you are maybe passionate about, maybe you want to add to, maybe you want to open a new position in, and consider doing that DCA now, right? Because we talk about the rate cut environment, and that doesn't mean, hey, rate cuts Bitcoin 120K tomorrow. But when you do get that rate cut environment, you guys can look historically about this. Maybe we'll look at this on another show next week. You, over the next 8 to 12 months, generally see fantastic rewards in both the equity markets and the crypto markets. So don't wait, right? Don't be part of this herd mentality. Establish those positions now. If you guys have questions, you guys want help, you guys are wanting to see what we're looking at, cryptocharge.com, code YouTube gets you guys 50% off any membership, as well as 30 days free. And that's truly 30 days free. We don't authorize your car for even 50 cents when you guys sign up. If you guys decide day 29, hey, it's not for me, appreciate you, bro, no worries. Not going to hurt my feelings, let me know, we'll cancel you out. But we want to make sure you guys have the opportunity to explore everything, including our educational, the Discord, all that good stuff. So now's the time, guys. Come check us out. Let me know what you think of our program.
Team, we're done today. We will see you guys next week. Bye.